What if Russia annexes Kazakhstan in 1991? The year is 1991. Mikhail Gorbachev's health is failing and the public's disillusionment with the Communist Party is only growing. As the Soviet Union begins to collapse, various ethnic groups begin to assert their independence. And in the midst of all this chaos, Russian nationalists are starting to get a bit uneasy about the potential loss of their own national identity. But what if, instead of losing Kazakhstan to growing Islamic fundamentalism or Chinese influence, Russia had simply annexed it in 1991? How would this have affected history? Well, first off, let's just say that the people of Kazakhstan would have probably preferred to see their country become a fully fledged democracy where they could freely choose their own leaders and chart their own future. After all, the Kazakh people suffered greatly under the repressive policies of the Soviet Union. So it's no surprise that when the Soviet Union began to fall apart, they would want to take this opportunity to create a free and democratic society. But unfortunately for them, their wishes wouldn't be taken into account because the decision of whether or not to annex Kazakhstan would ultimately come down to a group of unelected Communist Party officials. And these officials would ultimately decide that the best course of action would be to simply annex Kazakhstan and keep it as part of the Russian sphere of influence. And so, despite the fact that the Kazakh people had aspirations for democracy and freedom, their country would effectively become a puppet state of Russia. The Kazakh people would likely have continued to suffer under the repressive policies of the Russian state, and the dreams of a free and democratic Kazakhstan would be put on hold indefinitely. But what about the rest of the world? How would the international community have reacted to Russia's decision to annex Kazakhstan? Well, it's possible that the international community would have condemned the annexation as a violation of international law and the principles of self-determination. However, in reality, there's a good chance that the West would have seen this as an opportunity to get rid of another communist state and would have welcomed Kazakhstan into the capitalist world order. Ultimately, though, this alternate history would have resulted in a less democratic Russia and a less free world. And that's why it's important to remember the sacrifices of those who fought for democracy and freedom around the world. Because if we forget about those who have fought for our freedom, then we are doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past. Thanks for watching.